Nowadays, people are looking for that, and they're told that transitioning to another gender is going to give them happiness that they've never had, and it's not so. And I think a lot of people who aren't truly gender dysphoric are calling themselves transgender because they think that's going to provide them some sort of mental clarity or relief.
That they will be received warmly and and that they will
and
be
we
loved.
aren't able to say, hey, I don't think you're actually gender dysphoric. I don't think you're actually a person that needs a transgender, because if you do that, suddenly you're a transphobe and you're a bad, evil person, because it's an untouchable subject right now.
Yeah. They feel alone, and then all of a sudden this community is trying to welcome them in, but that's not what they're looking for. Then they go through all of this. They realize they're still unhappy. They're still having these disturbing thoughts. Now they're contending with, again, all of the various drugs and procedures and whatever they've gone through, and it makes the problem even worse. It compounds the situation.
Right.
And these are the types of conversations that we should be having on a national scale with far smarter people that could lend their level of expertise to it. But you're not allowed to have that level of conversation because suddenly it's a subject, it's a no-go zone because of the transgender
You can't
aspect.
have a conversation about that topic that involves nuance. You just can't.
That's right.
Johnny?
Well, I would like to add to that, too, gentlemen. I think that one thing that needs to be looked at, too, what are the side effects of these drugs that people are giving to children? What are the side effects? Because I tend to believe that because of the side effects, you're seeing kids now acting out. You talk about Zoloft. Zoloft, one of the side effects is there is a danger of suicide. And that's what it's supposed to be helping, but yet it can cause those type of feelings. I think we need to really look at that.
And how many of those people really need Zoloft or some of these other drugs? Because again, you have a community that is trying to convince them that there's something that perhaps they're not. And you're right, Brian. These are nuanced conversations.
And you can't have a nuanced conversation in America today.
You get bludgeoned by these people on the left. Anybody else? Anybody got a question?
Yes, we do, right here. What's your name, young man?
Henry.
Henry, what's your question?
I haven't heard one person ask about not just
Jiggle your microphone,
anyone.
Johnny. There you go.
What can we do about George Soros? He's created all sorts of problems in Europe, trying to turn democracies into social states.
What to do about George Soros?
Yeah, I mean, come on. We can dig somebody.
Have you seen him lately? We could just wait just a minute. If we just wait just a minute.
I mean, if you look under his eyes, his bags are packed.
Somebody should be able to nail this guy on some illegal activities he's done, besides all those prosecutors he hires, and they don't prosecute.
You know, as evil as I think George Soros is, he is also, I'm a little bit impressed, and I hate to say it that way, but he infiltrated the United States of America through our prosecutors.
Yep, sure.
I mean, through our prosecutors, right? So how do you create a level of unrest that makes people truly believe that the America that we love and know is breaking or broken? You do that through those prosecutors who decline to prosecute cases, who create civil unrest in the major metropolitan areas, and we see that happening before our eyes, and we realize, oh my goodness, the American experiment is breaking or broken. We need to do something about it. What can we do? Ban the guns, or limit the freedoms that people enjoy and have enjoyed throughout the entirety of the United States of America. So it's a brilliant strategy that hopefully the American people would be able to see through. And sadly, I think we're going to lose our metropolitan areas. I hope Nashville's not one of them, and I hope that we get smart and wise up. It only took me 2 months to wise up on Glenn Funk, I'll tell you that. And
watch it, they're going to call you.
Yeah, but so we have lost. Sadly, I think Chicago's lost. Los Angeles is lost. I mean, these major metropolitan areas are lost, and there's no coming back from that.
Well, not for several generations. If they make the right changes now, you're right.
Yeah, but I don't see them making the right changes.
I don't.
mean, there's no. It's so stunning. These cities are going to literal crap, and the people that live there still vote for the same party.
Yeah, they've been hit by liberal. That's what happened.
It's just so when you say maybe it'll get better, maybe these cities can be saved. I don't think so, because the people who live in those cities simply don't seem to understand that they have the power. They refuse to use it to make their city better. It is stunning.
So we are opening up to questions. If anybody's got questions, just raise your hand. Johnny B's wandering the room, and he's happy to answer any of your questions. I know
in the back.
That's not a very satisfactory answer on the George Soros front, but we need to draw more attention to the people that he's funding and prevent the funding of those individuals. That's the only way to combat the money that George Soros. Plus, I mean, if we wait about 3 months, hopefully George Soros will be dead.
All right, speak up loudly.
Yes, please. What's your name, young
Joe?
And Joe, what's your question for us?
My question, Johnny B, is what is your favorite Van Halen song?
What is Johnny's favorite Van Halen
favorite
song?
Van Halen song. If I had to choose one, wow, that's hard. Everybody wants some. How about that? And right now it's money. Yeah, money.
Matt, what's your favorite Van Halen
Anybody
song?
else?
1984 is my favorite Van Halen album.
Oh,
and,
that was great.
Jump, Panama. I mean, I'm the classics. Anything pre, what's his name? I can't drive. Sammy Hagar. I didn't care. What do you mean you're?
You know what?
Let's not make a matter of taste a matter of fact, Dan. It's just a matter of taste.
The musicality of the Sammy Hagar era Van Halen is much, much better than David Lee Roth.
Hey, as long as Eddie was playing, it didn't matter who was singing. Hey, that's my story.
Johnny B playing Peacemaker. That's nice.
He did. See, we can all be unified. No problem.
There you go.
All right, Johnny, next question.
What's your name, sir?
My name's John.
John, what's your question?
Did the Nashville police get a copy of the manifesto?
Yes.
Or do you trust the FBI to release it unaltered and unredacted?
No. Look, I mean, one of the things that I had a conversation with Councilman Robert Swope today on the phone. This was before the show. And Robert Swope apparently is quoted as saying he's been told that the manifesto will be released as soon as the FBI gets through with it, trying to assess the situation. And I asked him, the basic question, what is the reasoning for holding back on this when there's not going to be a trial? I can understand them wanting to protect the information if there was going to be a prosecution, but there's no prosecution here. The victim, the shooter is dead. And so that's not going to happen. And then what he told me was that he had been reassured that it was going to be released after the FBI finished with it, and if they did not release it within a week, Robert Swope assured me that he would demand that it be released. However, if it's in the possession and the FBI is making the call, can you get the local police to go over their head and release it? I think they've got a copy. I would be shocked if they didn't have a copy. I think that there's much to be learned from that. And I think that the reason that it might not be released is that a lot of the genderism stuff is going to be in there. And I think they want to protect that narrative and not let it get out.
I think you're right.
And I think, remember, one of the first calls that was made to the chief of police after this affair was from Joe Biden. Yep. So I hope that they'll be transparent. They've been transparent thus far, but I mean, you're talking about Metro Nashville, very woke. Let's not stir the pot. Let's keep that under wraps. The public does not have a right to know, but the public does have a right to know.
Absolutely, the public has a right to know. And I got in an argument with somebody the other day about that. Why do we need to know all the details? The reason we need to know all the details is so that it doesn't happen again. We need to be able to know what happened, what she was thinking, what she was going through, what drugs that she was on, what therapy she was going through, so that we can trace it back to what the hell happened. And if the Democrats are really concerned, if people are really concerned with fixing this problem, then they'll allow us to see everything.
I would love to get into a further conversation. I know we have to take a break, a further conversation about the FBI, but I would say this. I trust my dog, John Henry, with the manifesto more than I do the FBI.
Yeah.
The FBI is a corrupt, rotten organization from the head down. The field agents in the FBI are good people, and they want change more than anyone. But I know you feel the same way.
I do.
That we need to rebuild the Federal Bureau of Investigation back to whatever honor it used to have.
It is 20 minutes now past the hour of 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I just finished a conversation with our good friend Dr. Stephen Poss of the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center, talking to the group here in Murfreesboro about everything that he is offering. 2 locations to serve, one in Murfreesboro, obviously, and one in Brentwood. And we invite you to go out and see Dr. Poss. If you have sleep apnea and you don't think that a CPAP is right for you, or if you have a CPAP and you hate it, call Dr. Poss and let him try to help you. All right, we're in Murfreesboro until 8 o'clock tonight. Dan Mandis, Johnny B., Brian Wilson, and Matt Murphy, and, oh gosh, hundreds of others who are currently enjoying their meal at the Parthenon Grill and asking questions, and we're trying to answer those questions as best we can. You know, Dan, I've said for a while now, and I don't take any pleasure in saying it, that some of our bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. has gotten so corrupt and partisan that there's no salvaging it. And I point to the FBI as one of those organizations. I understand that the FBI does good work in a lot of ways. I understand that a lot of the field people say, hey, man, don't blame me for everything that's going on in Washington, D.C. I'm just trying to catch the bad guys. And they do a lot of good things. But, gosh, the D.C. FBI is just as corrupt as they come.
Well, it is, and when you look at what they did to Donald Trump and what they continue to do, you know, Justice Department, labeling parents as terrorists, domestic terrorists, they're very divisive, and it is abundantly clear that the FBI, has a distrust of the American people, specifically conservatives. Mm-hmm. And so I agree with you. I don't know ultimately how to salvage the FBI. I don't know how to salvage, our government. I mean, there's so many people like Nancy Pelosi, and it's generational because now Nancy Pelosi has a daughter that's going to be coming in behind her.
Oh, so boy.
The corruptocracy of Washington, D.C., and specifically Congress, Donald Trump was right. It is the swamp.
And the bureaucracy, I call it, I coined the phrase, I don't say I coined the phrase, but I came up with the phrase, the BIC. When we were kids, we used to talk about the military-industrial complex, right, and how they were running the show, and they created Vietnam, and they did this and they did that. Now it's the BIC, the bureaucratic industrial complex, that they think they run exterior to constitutional norms. They think that the Constitution doesn't apply to them, and it seems that. So when we hear something like, hey, in a case in Nashville, which involves the killing of 6 of our own, that the FBI has taken over, people automatically, that's a red flag to them that, hey, they're going to try to scrub information, like you said a minute ago, that we desperately need to understand how potentially to stop one of these attacks against us in the future.
I don't think Washington, D.C., the FBI, what did you say? You said the bureaucrat industrial complex. I don't think they want solutions. I think they want problems that they can constantly just debate, but never really come to a solution because they enjoy having the problems to fight over and never really coming up with solutions. That's one of the things that I would say, and there's a lot more that I could say about this, but the bottom line is that for Washington, D.C., and Brian was in the swamp for many years, the word swamp, when it comes to the bureaucracy that is Washington, D.C., very appropriate.
I mean, Brian got all the stinky off of him years ago, though.
I've been out long enough that I get PTSD thinking about going back. It's now 30 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good afternoon, good evening, I guess at this point. That's muscle memory reflex right there.
You want to start over?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our show here down at the Parthenon Grill in Murfreesboro.
You know what? They've had their food.
Yeah, now they're sluggish and slow because they've eaten, and that. While I noticed that there has been no food brought to my side of the table,
nor mine,
food has been delivered to Johnny B and to Dan.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, literally a cheesecake. And when I say a cheesecake, I don't mean like a dessert. I mean, it's a cake of fried cheese. It looks incredible.
Mm-hmm. It is incredible.
I sure wish I had some.
You should try one.
Well, anyway, we are glad to have you here. Where were we? Where were we before we were so rudely interrupted?
Well, there's some news.
Well, we do have some breaking news regarding the Trump indictment. So for those who have not heard, maybe you're just joining us, getting in your cars or whatnot, Donald Trump, earlier it was announced that the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, has brought back an indictment from the grand jury, and Donald Trump has been indicted on, we've gone through what we believe are phony, baloney, nonsense charges, and apparently someone in Florida agrees with us regarding the nature of the charges.
Ron DeSantis saying he will refuse any extradition request after the Trump indictment, saying it's questionable circumstances, and saying it is also un-American, which, I mean, I would agree it is un-American.
But Donald Trump was probably going to be upset with that because I think he wants to be moved to New York and have the perp walk and have the picture taken and the mug shot and the whole 9 yards.
Well, but they'll find a judge in there in Florida. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the procedural maneuver is, but I mean, can Ron DeSantis actually protect Trump from being
I think it depends on Florida law, with which I'm not an expert.
Well, Trump's lawyers said that he would go to New York. They said that he would go willingly because he wants to sell T-shirts with his mugshot and he wants the perp walk.
Well, I think DeSantis knows that.
Yep.
He knows that it's to Trump's benefit that he do that.
Yep.
And DeSantis, I mean, this is a clean kill for DeSantis, right? I mean, he's just, I'm not getting involved in any of this. He believes that Trump will do it anyway. So just stay out of it.
Well, and this is DeSantis, though, when he comes out and he says, I'm not going to assist in any extradition, he is also, for lack of a better term, sucking up to the MAGA crowd. So if Trump ultimately, for whatever reason, decides not to run, well, now DeSantis has ingratiated himself to the Trump crowd, the MAGA crowd.
Well, and right. So for diehard Trump supporters, I think anything that Ron DeSantis does from here on out, he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't, right? If he does the right thing, he's just doing it to suck up to them. If he does the wrong thing, he's doing the wrong thing. So, I mean, you just have to evaluate the action on what the action is. And he's saying, I'm not going to take part in what I believe is ultimately a dog and pony show. And I say good for him.
Yeah.
Obviously some will say, well, he's just doing this for politics. He's trying to run against Trump, so he knows he doesn't need to tick us off. And that's true, too, right? I mean, he knows not to tick off the MAGA crowd. Right. He would be foolish to do so.
Well, but he already has. That's the problem. I mean, when we talked about this earlier, where he made that snide comment about it's out of his wheelhouse, hush money payments to prostitutes, that did tick off the MAGA crowd, the Trump crowd. By the way, DeSantis also says that it is, as we all agree, the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda. So he not only is he saying, I'm not going to participate in an extradition of the former president, but he's also calling BS on the whole thing.
Well, and the last thing I want to do is to create a Trump v. DeSantis schism within the room, right? But I do find it kind of funny that DeSantis gets beaten up over something that if Trump had said it, we would all laugh our butts off over it because it was such a Trumpian thing to say. Like he goes, oh, this DA, he's awful. This DA is horrible. We hate this DA. I don't know anything about prostitutes. I don't know what goes into all of that. But anyway, the DA, he's horrible. Right. I mean, it sounded like something that Donald Trump would throw out.
Here's the thing that I keep coming back to of recent days. Now, there was a time where DeSantis had a surge. DeSantis, his numbers are collapsing.
Yes.
I have a Fox News poll came out, I think, yesterday, late today. Donald Trump is the first choice, and this is in Republican primary voters, of 54% of the voters. Ron DeSantis is the first choice for 24% of the voters. That's an ass whooping. Is what
can I? You can say that after 7. You're okay. I'm actually curious as to the room. Like you want to do. So if you are pro-Trump, raise your hand or applaud. All right. So this.
No, applaud. Just go ahead and give it a big yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, if you're pro-DeSantis, applaud.
Okay. Now, can I ask I want to ask the question in a different way.
Apparently, I did that wrong.
All right. Because
save me, Matt.
I'm beginning to believe that Ron DeSantis would benefit from waiting. And I've never said that before tonight. But how many people would support and love the concept of Ron DeSantis stepping out and going, you know what? I want to watch Donald Trump whip Joe Biden's ass in 2024, and then I'm going to wait my turn. See, I'm beginning to believe, especially with all of this going on now, obviously there's a long time between now and then. You guys know how long it is. Yes. But I'm beginning to believe that it might be for the betterment of the country to give Trump another crack at Joe Biden, if Joe Biden's the nominee.
Well, then...
Let me ask that question. And we'll ask of the audience, I'd love to know what your thinking is. Do you think that Democrats will actually nominate Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? If you do, applaud. Do you think that they'll choose somebody else? Well, apparently...
I wonder who.
They're off in dessert land. I don't know.
Is there dessert? Oh, sorry.
Gavin Newsom seems to be running for something outside of governor of California, and he's just awful. But he seems to want to comment on everything that's going on in the state of Tennessee.
California is zombie land. I mean, can that translate to a national stage?
You destroy that presidential hopeful by running a 30-second spot that says, yes, go ahead and choose Gavin Newsom. He'll do to America what he did to California. That's it.
Yep.
That's over.
Well, I mean, but talk about zombie land. I mean, we currently have a zombie as president of the United States. Right. Thank you, Johnny. I'll be here all the week.
That was funny.
But sincerely,
but very, very true. I mean, there are moments when clearly Joe Biden is struggling with either his dentures, his mind, all of the above.
Well, and a lot of people got angry. Circling it back to what happened on Monday. So I was on the air. We all were kind of, it was a team effort Monday morning. You called me, Dan. Brian jumped on the radio. Pamela Furr was on the air, and we all kind of jumped in and went after it, as we are apt to do. And we got the call about 10 minutes prior. You texted me, Dan, said, hey, President Biden is speaking on this. Jill Biden had already commented on it. Karine Jean-Pierre had already commented on it. And a lot of people got angry at the manner in which Joe Biden, and I understand this, got very upset because he comes out in front of this prearranged crowd and he yucks it up about ice cream, and he's talking for, a lengthy amount of time. For those that did not hear it, it was 2 or 3 minutes where he's joking, he's making comments about, let's go get chocolate chip ice cream, and then he transitions, knowing that he's going to transition to talk about 6 people dead in Nashville, Tennessee.
This always amazes me that they are so tone deaf to this stuff.
And for me, it just saddened me because how, if you have your faculties, do you do that?
But but is that the fault of Biden, or is it the fault of his people?
It doesn't matter. If you're a shrewd and adept politician, you know how to handle these situations. I remember, and again, no disrespect meant, because I know he didn't mean any disrespect. But I've seen presidents go into funerals before, and they're entering funerals, and they're hey, how are you? Good to see you, that kind of thing. And it just seems so inappropriate when you see that happen. And I don't, they don't mean anything by it, but really, an adept politician knows you're always being watched, you're always on camera, the camera never blinks, and you need to be very sensitive to those things. Joe Biden is not I'll say this. Joe Biden at one point in his life was not a stupid man. I don't think he's got all his faculties together now, but he knew those things instinctively at one point, I think. And I think he's so far gone.
As moralless of a man as I think Bill Clinton was.
I think so too, yeah.
Bill Clinton walks into that room and he doesn't do any of that claptrap. He knew. He goes straight in. He talks about the issue, talks about Nashville, does that. He feels your pain.
That's right.
and then moves on with the event. And Joe Biden had zero awareness that that was what to do. And that tells me that you don't have all of your mental facts.
No, I agree.
It also tells you that his people don't know what to do with him. Like they just.
I mean, you send him out there, and you can't be standing there with a teleprompter in their or an earpiece in their ear telling him every step to make. That would only confuse him more.
Well, and I like to say it this way: the best when you observe, and I want every person in this room and listening on the air to know this: when you see Joe Biden on television, his handlers know exactly when he's going to be on TV. The best that you will see of Joe Biden is the 5 minutes that you see of him on television. The best he's going to be any given day
That's right.
is when he's before the public. Imagine what the man is like when he's not at his best. It's frightening. He's the leader of the free world.
You see it from time to time because, if he hasn't gotten his nap or he hasn't had his B12 shot or he hasn't had his 5-hour energy drink or if he hasn't had his daily dose of Prevagen, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell. Can't hear
Johnny
you.
B, your purple microphone has died on us. I'm not going to make a Prince joke. I could, but I'm not.
Oh, you're on now.
Okay, I was going to say that there was the best example of that was last Easter. If you remember, he was having to be coached by Jill. Okay, now clap. Okay,
yeah.
Now smile.
Walk over here.
And then
the Easter Bunny came to his rescue.
and he about freaked. I mean, he didn't even know what he couldn't even understand.
He was having
happening.
a bad moment,
he was.
moment, no doubt. Yeah. I remember that very clearly.
I will admit that there's sometimes when I'm in a bad mood, I'll go watch Joe react to the Easter Bunny, and I'm happy again because it's just funny.
Yes, it is funny, Dan. Yeah. It's so good to be here in Memphis with you.
Oh no,
I really appreciate it. It's so nice. Yes, and I've got chocolate chip ice cream. There's plenty here. Okay, well that's it for me.
Listen, if we're in Memphis, duck.
I mean, back to the point of the breaking news story. I think it's natural for Ron DeSantis to do it. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. You're not gonna play in these games. You feel like Donald Trump wants this anyway. Donald Trump's going to do what Donald Trump's going to do, and you're trying. I mean, at this stage, I don't think it behooves Ron DeSantis, and I know that there's some quirks in Florida law. You guys might know the Florida law better than me as to. He has to step down as governor. I think they maybe try to repair that.
So the state legislature is looking at repealing that in Florida, but as it stands now, if he officially runs for president, DeSantis has got to step down as governor.
And so at this point, I know that it seems like it's a world away, but we're less than 10 months away from the first primaries.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
less
right,
than
yeah.
10 months away.
know.
And so I think people are beginning to feel like, regardless of where you are on Trump v. DeSantis, that he's playing it a little too coy. I mean, we feel like he's running for president. He wrote a book. He's making national speeches. Just go ahead, throw it out there, and let's get it on mano a mano, and let's let the best man win.
Is he waiting to see, Brian, about the polls and see where the polls shake out?
Well, I mean, if he were to look at the polls today, they would be very discouraging. I mean, Trump beats him by, in some polls, 30 points. 30 points or more.
What happened with DeSantis? Like, what did I miss with DeSantis?
I don't know. I think that it really, when all this talk about the indictment started to come down, it felt to me as if that people started surging back to Trump because they just felt wrong about it.
The indictments for one, but you know what? One other thing that Trump did, East Palestine. He went into East Palestine and he reminded me of why I love him.
Yeah.
He got to the people. He talked to the people. He bought a McDonald's.
Ohio.
I mean, he just felt like he understood the pain of the people in a way that politicians typically don't.
Gotta go.
It is now, let's call it almost 50 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 5 minutes until 8 o'clock. We remain at the Parthenon Grill, although all of my not all of my compatriots, because I'm about to introduce you to one of our compatriots, but most of my compatriots are milling the crowd, saying hello to all of the gathered, assembled masses who came out to see us for the last couple of hours. We so appreciate you. This is all about you. It is all about the listeners of Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and I can tell you, in the 16 months that I've been here, I have felt the love. I've felt the family atmosphere of this radio station. And toward that end, it truly extends to our many sponsors. And Dr. Stephen Poss is one of those sponsors. Dr. Poss, we would not be here, not just here, but we would not be where we are as a radio station without fine folks like you. And I want to sincerely thank you for that.
Oh, I'm more than happy to sponsor this. This is a great group of people. And WTN, I've been involved with them for 20 years.
If we could just change the name of Murfreesboro to Murphysboro, it'd be perfect.
I like that.
So we were talking a little while ago to the group here in the audience about what you do on a day-to-day basis, and it's fascinating to me. I mean, as many people that understand, that listen to Super Talk what you do, there are many more people that don't understand that they don't have to be shackled with a CPAP machine if they have sleep apnea. Just talk to you about the technology that you do.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people don't even know they have sleep apnea. And then the fact is, if they do and they're not treated, there's a lot of health issues with it. So I think the best thing to describe is that a lot of the people that have mild to moderate sleep apnea, we can just position their jaw with a oral appliance, and they don't have to have the hose, mask, or surgery to have anything like that to help them sleep.
If people are listening and they're unsure, what are some of the little signs that maybe they just say, that's just normal life, I'm just middle-aged, doc, it's what happens? What are the signs that they need to
Two or three. One is you're waking up tired as you were when you went to bed, number one. Number two is you have to get up and go to the restroom a lot at night.
Mm-hmm.
I think snoring is another thing that can be a prominent featuring as well.
And you and I were discussing, and you taught me this when I first visited your office in Brentwood, and there's two, right? One in Brentwood, one in Murfreesboro.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Is that, it used to be when you realized that you're a candidate, that you've got the sleep apnea, and you would, way back in the day, they'd do molds of your mouth. Right. That's gone. That's old school technology.
Yeah, since about 2016, we digitally scan, so everything's uploaded to a medical lab. It's three-dimensionally printed. So everything's done by a computer, so it's very precision fit, and treatment's very precision.
And I understand when you talk snoring and when you talk sleep apnea, primarily you think you're talking to men, and I guess that's true, right? It's more men than women, but what's the split?
What's the interesting thing is men have more sleep apnea until women go through menopause, then they catch up.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, but typically in my office, I see about 65, 70% men and about 30, 35% women.
And people wait do people wait too long
A lot of people
call
do,
you?
because the biggest problem is the health issues.
Yeah.
Heart problems and diabetes and all other kind of things, and weight gain. Part of that is because you're not sleeping well and your hormones aren't producing the things they need to.
And talk to me about insurance.
Well, we're able to bill, and we're in network with most major medical PPO insurances, or TRICARE for the military, and Medicare.
Okay.
So,
well, I encourage people to give you a call. How do they do that? How do they reach out to you? What's the best way?
The simplest way, especially if you're driving, is just Dr. Poss, drposs.com, and that'll take you to a website that'll link you to ours that has questionnaires and things for you.
Listen, thank you for tonight. We appreciate you sincerely.
It's been an all-star.
Is it not great?
Of people up here. What a great 2 or 3 hours we've had here.
Listen, we love you guys who are listening on air, and we love you guys in Murfreesboro. And before we go, one more time, before we say goodbye to the listening audience, give them a big Murfreesboro round of applause. Come on, everybody! There you go. That wraps it up from Murfreesboro at the Parthenon Grill. Dan Mandis will talk to you bright and early in the morning. I'm Matt Murphy for Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So long, everybody.